Hi guys. So what we want to do is we want to continue looking at selections here in Photoshop. You have to understand that selections are probably one of the most important things in Photoshop, and it's something that you want to practice. I've done this for a long time, about 20 years, and I still practice selections to this day. Luckily, I do it a lot for classes, but even without that, I'm regularly practicing selections. So we're going to move down to these. And what we have here is we have what we call our lasso tools, our regular lasso tool, our polygonal lasso tool, and our magnetic lasso tool. So I'm going to go in terms of probably the ones you'll use the least to the one you'll use the most. So let's start with the polygonal lasso tool. So as you see up here, we have all our options for our adding or subtracting from selections. We have feather up here. We have anti-aliasing, which smooths our transitions around. And this tool is kind of like the pen tool in Illustrator, except it doesn't have the ability to do Beziers, no curves. So I'll click, and 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 I'll close the path, and I create this shape. Now, the thing about this is that it seems pretty useless right off the bat, but actually it's extremely useful if you have things like windows or doors or anything that just has to be either purely a rectangle or a skewed rectangle, something like that, and you need to select it. That's where this tool really shines. So don't throw it away in your mind at all. In fact, it's really, really powerful. But it's really simple to use. Click, 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 and then close the path. Okay, again, there's no curves. So it's not really a useful tool on many, organic objects. It's more of a mechanical based tool. So let's deselect. The magnetic lasso tool is a favorite by many people. Now, the way that this thing works is some stuff up here. So we have our selection adjustments, we have our feathering, we have our anti-alias, and that's all stuff we're familiar with. And then we have this width, contrast, frequency. Okay, so what this has to deal with is just in general how the tool works. So this tool works really well when there's a high contrast between foreground and background, and between an object and what we want to select it off of. So if I go ahead and I click here on the top of the duck's head, it starts to read it and recognizes that it's different than everything else. And I'm just rolling. I'm not clicking or anything like that. I'm just moving down the edge of the duck really slowly. And all of a sudden you start to see these little dots appear. Those are kind of like points, like in Illustrator. Imagine we had a pen tool and we were drawing this and we were making points every so often. In fact, that's what that frequency is. See, it says frequency 57. Those are those points. If you want, you can always click and add a point, and sometimes you have to, because I'm going to come down here to this corner where the neck and the body meet, and then I'm going to move, and check it out. Photoshop did not put a point there. It just put something, but it wasn't quite where it needed to go. You can luckily backtrack by hitting escape. You can make everything go away, or if you go ahead and you see mistakes, you can hit the delete key and it'll just step back and fix those mistakes. So sometimes that's what you need to do. Other times when you do that, it just runs into a problem. So it's almost even better to just start over. So I'm just going to click here again, and I'm going to just go, and slow and steady is the way this one works. And it actually works better with a trackpad, I think, than a real mouse, because you don't have to actually move your hand around, just kind of, move your finger. So when I get to this corner right here, I'm going to click, and there we go. And again, this is one of those tools that people really like because it makes selections easy. And I like it too. But I just need to prepare you for the real world. And that simply is that there's not going to be many bright yellow ducks and white backgrounds for you to select. They do exist, not just ducks and backgrounds, but situations like this, they definitely do exist. But it's going to be usually a little bit harder than just that. And again, you can click, and that makes the little point for you as well, so you can make your own. Screwed up a little there. Hit delete. And when you are about to close, you'll know, because you'll see the little circle that is the universal closing the loop sign. And check it out. I got the whole duck, and that's pretty cool. So what do we do when we have like the whole duck? Well, we can move them around, right? That's one thing we can do. We can also bring him to a new layer. And this is an important, thing that we do on a regular basis. So to get him to a new layer, I want to essentially duplicate him. I'm going to use a key command. It is Command, or on a PC, Control J. And now check it out. I have two layers of this duck. I have a background layer, and I have this other layer 1. And that allows it to happen. Now, again, this is why we don't always use this tool, because sometimes this is what you're presented with. And again, let's try to select this yellow duck, and I'll flatten it first. Yeah, I'll discard all the layers, and watch. I'll click up here and I'll start like I did before, and I'll click in here. And it's still doing a pretty good job, but I bet it's going to get confused down here. Ooh, that might prove me wrong. Well, there I am. I'm proved wrong. It did a pretty good job. Not bad, actually. That's still a pretty good job. Although, again, it's a nice shape. It's got a smooth edge. I shouldn't say a smooth edge. It's got a hard edge. So it's an easier shape to select. But I will not give the tool any crap. I think that it did a great job, in fact. But I'm still going to go ahead and revert it and get back to the next lasso tool. But yeah, that's a good one. They definitely have redone some of the algorithms there to make it work a little bit better. So the next lasso tool is probably the most versatile one, but probably the hardest to go ahead and go all the way around the duck. I'm going to try. You should try, because you should get a sense of how this works. To do this tool, you have to click on it, and you literally have to hold it down. The beauty of the lasso tool, the last lasso tool, is we didn't have to do that. The other thing is that you 100% are driving here. This is not automatic whatsoever. And so this sort of becomes a problem for folks who have shaky hands. And if I try to go all the way around the duck, it might not be as clean or as smooth of a selection as what I had before. And right now I'm working on a trackpad, which I think actually helps keep me a little steadier when I need to make hard selections. To be honest, you have to go a little slower, but it's there. And my selection looks bad at the moment. It looks really bad because it's just not done. See, if I went ahead and I jumped that to a new layer with Command or Control J, that's what it would look like. So not so good. So after we go ahead and we make our initial selection, I can go ahead and I can start to add to the selection with this tool here and add to it a little bit. Okay. If I go ahead and I do too much, I can take away from the selection and do this. And here's the thing. is this the best tool that we have to select this duck off this white background? No, it's not. In fact, it's probably the worst at the moment, just because I have to do it all by hand. Can I use this tool to select this duck from this background? Yes, I definitely can. But I guess I shouldn't call it the worst. Probably the magnetic lasso tool is the polygonal lasso tool would be the worst. But this is definitely not the easiest. And you want to think about that, because we want things to be easy. We don't want them to be incredibly hard if they don't need to be, because you always want to work smarter, not harder. So if something just is not working out to your advantage, then think about something else. Here's something. Now that I have this kind of thing started to be selected, I'm going to jump back over here to the polygonal, and I'm going to do this whole add to selection, and I'm going to start right about here, and I'm just going to go down. Oh, I grabbed the wrong tool. I grabbed the polygonal. I'm going to hit escape. I'm sorry. I meant to say magnetic. And I'm going to click here, and I'm just going to kind of go down, and I'm going to start going around our edge. And I essentially want to just add to this and watch. Let's go ahead and let's close this shape. And since I'm adding to it, I'm just going to build off of it. And I guess what I'm trying to show you here is this, that a selection is a selection is a selection. At the end of the day, we don't really care how we got there. You know, it's not about the journey in this case. It's about getting the selection done. And so if we have to use part polygonal and then part magnetic and part hand lasso, then we do all those things. Okay? And that's definitely something that can work out for us. But in all honesty, I'm going to deselect this, Command or Control D. The regular lasso tool, it's probably better suited for something smaller like this. Like, I need to select this eye. And if I go ahead and I click and I hold down, I can really kind of get around this eye and select it pretty good. And then I can move that eye over to here. That's really what it's intended for, a little bit more. Kind of your scalpel-like selections. And again, I'm working on a trackpad, so it's a little bumpy right now, but we can go and grab the rest of that. But don't not use the regular lasso tool because it's harder compared to the other ones, because this one is going to be something that you're going to find you use on a regular basis. I always, probably every day, I'm using the lasso, the traditional one. And it's not because I like to work harder. It's just because sometimes I just need that fine scalpel to go in there and grab something. And that's really like what it does. So the three lasso tools, the polygonal, which is very limited, the magnetic, which seems to work for everybody, and then the regular lasso tool, all really important. I want to throw something out at you right now. So while I have this selected, I can go ahead and hold down the Option key, and I can drag and check it out. I can now create this into not a cyclops duck, but a triclops duck, a three-headed duck, or excuse me, a three-eyed duck. And essentially, you want to start doing these sorts of silly little things because it's going to help you with your selection tools. All right, when we come back, we're going to take a look at the magic wand and the quick select. Thank you.